The last video that I did here on the channel caused so much hoopla. You guys had a lot to say about bodybuilding and women using steroids. So many of you are shocked and upset. We had people who were IFBB pros come in and give their thoughts, NPC competitors from other organizations, and just your everyday gym rat. Every single one of you had your own things to say about this, and you felt very strongly. So I had to come back in here and have a sit-down conversation with my ladies, because there are so many of you in my audience who want to compete. Listen, let me tell you something, ladies. You know we are big on weight training here. And one of the things that I'll say is do not be afraid to lift weights. Do not be afraid to build your body. At the end of the day, you are not going to quote unquote turn into a man. A lot of the hard looks and stuff that you're seeing, as you now know, is because of anabolic steroids. And if you're not using any of that stuff, you don't have anything to worry about. Weight training, lifting weights, building muscle will not turn you into a man. No one can take away your femininity from you. Womanhood is not a costume. So with that in mind, I want to have a conversation today about how you can go about doing the bodybuilding thing and doing it in a healthy way, doing it as naturally as possible. We're going to talk about training. We're going to talk about nutrition, and I want to give you some tips about federations and how to go ahead and get started. So hold on for the ride. Make sure that you go ahead, like this video right now, and subscribe to the channel. Today's video is sponsored by my company, Rockstar Fitness. If you are a woman out there who's ready to take her training, her nutrition, and her mindset to the next level, and you know that you want to do it the healthy way, but along the way, you are on a journey to connect yourself with spiritual fitness and get to that deeper reason why your fitness goals matter to you, you and I've got to talk, because I am taking on new clients right now, and I am especially building up my competition team for all natural athletes. You don't have to compete to work with me, but you do have to go ahead and get a free call. See the link down below to set that up, or you can go ahead and scan the QR code right over here. If you're not ready for coaching just yet, but you want some advice on how to get started in competing the right way, then come on by and get my free contest prep crash course. See the link down below or scan the QR code that you see right here on the screen. All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump into this. So the first thing that I really want to assure my ladies out there is that it is possible to compete without using steroids. I don't want my last video to discourage you, especially if you're someone who values training as naturally as possible. Is it going to be harder for you? Likely, yes, it will, depending on your federation. Keep in mind that genetics plays a huge role in this. And people who tend to do really well in bodybuilding, male or female, are usually people who have the genetics to do well. You have a natural X frame. You build muscle easily, and getting lean isn't an impossible task. Now, even if you are not genetically blessed, you can still be successful at this game, but it's going to take time. And that's the thing about bodybuilding, is that bodybuilding is not a sport about getting on stage as many times of the year as you can, but instead it is a sport about building yourself over time. It's about developing yourself. It's about getting really in tune with your body and taking it like a work of art, sculpting and molding it in the gym and through nutrition. And if you look at it from that respect, it is a lifelong journey that can be just amazing for you when you make this a lifestyle. So the first thing that I'm going to tell you is to make sure that you work with a coach. And I'm not just saying that just as someone who does coaching. I am saying this because it's hard to know exactly what the judges are looking for and whether or not you're ready to step on a stage. Even if it's just to be evaluated to see what your physique is at the moment, what you may need to work on to be competitive, it is so helpful to have a watchful eye. You got to look at bodybuilding as a chess game. It's very strategic. And in that chess game, what we're trying to do is to build up your strengths and minimize your weaknesses. That can be all done in the gym and with posing as well. I always suggest for any competitor, whether you are seasoned or if you're brand new, to spend time in an off season. So if you've chosen a show, you want to give yourself about 16 to 20 weeks just to diet alone. But before you start on that first day of the 16 weeks, you need to spend a couple of months really building up your frame. So that might mean giving yourself about a good 6 months before you start the prep to go ahead and build your body to look really competitive on that stage. So if you break it down between an off season into a prep, that could be about 10 months between the time that you decided that you're going to go ahead and do the show and when you actually started to focus your training on that specific date. 6 months of that would be a building phase. 4 months of that would be a cutting phase. I also really suggest that you start to become a true fan of the sport and watch bodybuilding shows. Nowadays, it's so easy. There's so many resources online, things that were not available when I was competing. You can see entire shows on YouTube for free. And really, being able to go in person and watch a show is invaluable. You want to know what it's like to be in that atmosphere, how quickly that you are judged on stage, seeing if you can guess which competitors the judges will pick as the winners. The more you can train your eye, the better you'll be at competing. And it doesn't matter what level you're at or what division you compete in. These rules still apply. Your diet is going to be the next factor that you need to think about in the game of competing as a natural. It is easy to starve yourself leaner. It just is. And if you have a coach that is giving you a diet that's like 1,000 calories, 900 calories, 800 calories with 2 hours of cardio a day, honey, that is not competing. That's called starving you. You need to fire that coach and find someone else. In the 6 months before you start your 16-week prep, this is the time for you to start reverse dieting, getting your calories well above maintenance. And if you are building, you're going to be eating in a surplus anyway. Get those calories up so that way your body is used to surviving on a large amount of food without getting fat. Of course, you're going to be training during this time, so you'll be putting those calories to good use to build up your frame. And when it's time for you to start your diet at 16 or 20 weeks out, you have a larger amount of calories to cut from. I have had clients on 3,000 calories a day in an off season and losing fat at about 2,800 calories, 2,600 calories out of the gate. And they came in lean and ready to go by showtime. We were able to hold on to that muscle and get their bodies where they need to be to win their shows and even win pro cards. I always say that the mantra to everything that we do in my coaching practice is this when it comes to nutrition. You must eat to be lean, eat to be strong, eat to have the body of your dreams. Food is your greatest ally. It is not your worst enemy. So the more you can learn about nutrition and how it works for your body, the better. Now, the next thing that you do need to consider when it comes to actually competing are federations. What's going to be best for you? Now, a lot of folks are going to go straight to the NPC, which is the amateur division of the IFBB. I am an IFBB pro. I competed at the highest level when I competed at the Olympia in 2014. And of course, given that, I came up through the NPC. Now, here's the thing. That is not the only federation on the planet. The NPC and the IFBB are the largest and they are the most famous because that is where all of bodybuilding pretty much began as a true sport when it comes to federation. To understand how we got here, you have to keep in mind the history of the sport. The IFBB was founded in 1946 by Ben and Joe Weider. They grew this federation to be the top federation in the world. And of course, the penultimate competition is the Olympia. And they always say there's only one road that leads to the Olympia, and that is through the IFBB. And it's true. You've got the best of the best in the world. Some of the greatest legends in the sport come out of this federation. And the reason why they were so powerful back in the day, especially, was because Joe and Ben Weider literally owned every magazine in the fitness industry. So you were not getting into anything unless you were an IFBB pro or an NPC athlete. So it gave the federations an unfair advantage in that way. A lot of people wanted to get into commercials, magazines, and more. So you've got to be among the movers and the shakers, and that was in the IFBB. Fast forward to nowadays, there are so many different federations to choose from. And to be quite honest with you, social media really just blew the lid off of everything and has allowed athletes to own their own image. You don't need to even compete to have a sponsorship with a supplement company. You don't need to compete to get a contract with a company like Nike. You don't have to be an IFBB pro to become a fitness expert, coach, writer, etc. Hell, you don't even have to know what you're doing, but that's a whole other conversation. But this goes to say that the power and the influence that the IFBB once had over the media is no longer there. So it kind of frees you up to do whatever it is that you want in a way that's going to work for you. So choose one of the natural organizations that's out there that may be a better fit for you. Those athletes are just as competitive. In fact, I've seen some of the leanest women in my life completely drug-free on those natural stages. And if it's your goal to be an influencer or just to be someone who's out there in fitness, motivating other people to do this, nobody cares what federation you're in, to be honest with you. It's all about how you look. So go with what makes sense for you. Start with a show that may be local to you, try it out, see how you do, and make your decisions from there. Now, with that being said, I don't want you to shy away from NPC shows. Listen, the best of the best are still within the NPC and the IFBB. And in many ways, as the IFBB goes, so does the rest of the sport when it comes to how athletes look, how lean folks are, how big they are, and that's just the truth. But the limitations are kind of put on with the natural organizations because of the fact that there are no steroids there. So it still makes it very competitive. And if you're deciding to do the NPC, don't be afraid. Just go ahead, go up there and do your best. If you can place and do well among other competitors who may or may not be on gear, honey, you know that you've got what it takes to be successful in this sport. That's how I was when I first started. I mean, sure, yeah, the steroids were still out there, but the women weren't as big and hard as they are right now. So being a natural athlete, it was a lot easier to go out there and dominate the stage. But even with all of that, I didn't care. I was going to go out there and do my best and show up and do what I loved, which was competing. And I was able to do it without passing my lines in the sand. So that's what I got for you. All right. I want you to not have fear. I want you to still do this. Bodybuilding is such a great activity. It's such a great hobby to really push yourself to see what you're made of mentally, emotionally, physically, and more. But it's going to be really important for you to keep your eyes on the big picture and what this all truly means to you. Fitness should enhance your life, not stress you out, not cause you all kinds of anxiety and all that other stuff. Not make you obsessed about your body, obsessed about your look. It should take you higher. And if you are looking to find that deeper reason why, I want you to go ahead and watch this next video right over here. Because honey, I'm going to tell you why it is important for you to have that intrinsic reason why you need to get up and do this stuff every single day. I'll see you over there.